Okay. So it's time we can begin. We did the first few pages last time, and now we continue. We are lucky to be still alive. Between our last meeting and this meeting, many people have died. For these beings leaving their human existence, they are leaving behind a great opportunity. We have this chance. We don't know how long we're going to live. But what is certain is that we will die. And before we die, we can get quite sick. We can lose our energy. The mind that we need in order to do the practice has to have a capacity for both stillness and movement. We need to be able to activate the patterning of our thoughts so that we can read the texts and understand them and start to become more present to our obscurations and limitations. But at the moment, we are alive. The part of the text that we looked at last time was the direct Mahamudra, or the absolute truth Mahamudra. And now we're going to look at the relative truth Mahamudra. That is to say, the way we can approach Mahamudra when we are on a path. And the reason we are on a path is because we don't find ourselves present in the state of Mahamudra. I would strongly recommend that you read chapter 7 of this book, Simply Being, because it has the chapter by Patra Rinpoche on the two truths. And, if we really can see the inseparability of the two truths, then this wonderful text by Virupa will become more evident to us. So the text and the other texts in the Sweet Simplicity book are pointing out that the mind is like the sky. The sky or space is the symbol for limitlessness. When I go out on my street, it looks obvious that the sky is up there. I'm on the earth and the sky is up there. But when we see the photographs that were taken by the astronauts of the planet Earth, we see that the Earth is in space. Space is above us, below us, on each side of us. Everywhere we are within space. Space, having no substance, is not displaced. It is inclusive. So we think of this with our mind. All kinds of thoughts, feelings, memories, hopes and fears arise and pass. Sometimes if we have something very intense happen to us, a happy thing like planning to go on holiday or falling in love, or something unhappy like being in trouble at work or finding difficulty in a relationship, we find ourselves caught up in thought after thought after thought about the situation. Why did it happen? Our experience is often that, oh, I can't stop thinking about that. Why did I do that? But the situation, the difficult or the wonderful moment has already passed. I'm not thinking about that which has occurred. I'm thinking that into this moment. So this that is like some kind of ghost or some kind of creature which is not quite dead. And we are giving our heart blood to keep this ghost alive. This is a somewhat Gothic theme. It's not that we are the vampires living on the blood of beautiful virgins. It's rather that we keep breathing into the mouth of the corpse, trying to bring it back to life. The past is gone. Our parents get old, they die. Thinking about them takes us where? They can't be here because they're dead. And we can't go there because we're alive. So if we're caught up in regrets about the past, why wasn't I kinder to my mum? She did so much for me. These kind of thoughts take us into a nowhere space. And with this kind of remembrance and thinking, we come to a definition. My mother was so kind to me, but I was young and selfish and didn't want to be in the house. I wanted to be outside. She was good, I was selfish. This is some furniture in my mind. It's possible to spend one's whole life thinking about something. Once we see the world in terms of things, particular people or cats or cars, then we find a moment of perception arouses memories, plans and intentions, feelings. We're full of stuff. This is the main obstacle to seeing our unchanging, unborn, open mind. If we can directly see the unborn openness of our mind, then we don't need to go through all the stages of the path. But if we don't open directly to our mind, then we have to do all kinds of purifications and analysis in order to thin the obscurations. So the vital point here is to look at your own mind and see that all the limiting thoughts and feelings that arise are impermanent. They vanish by themselves. So if we have a big regret and we feel, I can't forgive myself for doing that, then we need to observe that we ourselves are maintaining our limitation. We don't want to open to the open because we are over-identified with the limited formation that we take to be I, me, myself. But every thought, every feeling, every sensation is impermanent. When something happens, it's just this. So, for example, in the past year, I had this treatment for cancer, and I still have to continue with this hormone reduction injections. Oh, I get the side effects from this treatment, especially aching feelings in my joints. So I've just told you a story about why my joints are aching, because I had the treatment for cancer. This explanatory story is useful on one level, but with this knowledge, my joints often ache because of the treatment. When I feel some painful experience in my knees, I know what it is. This is how stupidity can dominate my mind. What is it? It's so quick to bring in the conceptual reply. All our education in school was to help us be very quick at doing this so we could answer the question. I know, children putting up their hand. Teacher, I know. But what is this? If I stay with the sensation, it's here and now. It's undeniable. There is a particular flavor of experience. In each moment, it has its own specificity. It could be hot, it could be cold, it could be stabbing, it could be dull. Staying attentive to the actuality of this appearance, it's here and gone. This is the radiance of the mind. This is how the mind displays itself. It's not something. It's just like a flash of light or a rainbow in the sky. It is not solid, but I can make it solid. I can think, oh, the doctors didn't tell me that this would last so long. God, maybe it will be like this till I die. When I was young and healthy, I should have used my time better. So many thoughts can arise. They bump into each other and new patterns occur again and again. So clearly, there are at least two possibilities. One is to relax and open and just allow life to be as life is. And the second is to conceptualize that something is happening to me, something I don't like, and therefore I need to do something about it. The teachings of Mahamudra and Dzogchen always suggest take the first path. Keep it simple. It is simple. You yourself are the one that makes it complicated. So we relax. So maybe now we do this Guru Yoga of the White R, which some of you know very well. We just sit in a comfortable way with our skeleton holding our weight. Our senses are open. Our gaze is resting in the space in front of us. In the middle of this space, we can imagine a small letter R, like a capital A, or the Tibetan form, if you know it. And surrounding this letter is light of the usual 5 colors: white, red, blue, yellow, and green, which express the potential of the mind to show all the forms of samsara via the 5 poisons, and all the forms of nirvana via the 5 wisdoms. So then we make the sound of R together 3 times, long and easy, just releasing ourselves into the sound of emptiness. And when we finished with the 3rd sound, what we've imagined in front of us dissolves in space, and we just stay relaxed and open with whatever comes. This is our holiday time. Nothing to do. Don't interfere. Don't try to improve. Don't try to remove. Just relaxed and open and allow these empty forms to come and go. So we can do this practice. Okay. It is very useful to do this brief practice again and again. It provides a gap within which the underlying and all-pervasive openness or emptiness can become clearer for us. Clarity here means that when your mind is not relying on concepts to provide an explanatory narrative about what is going on, then there is an immediacy. It's just this. If you say, what is it? Immediately you go into a story about something. Absolute truth, or the truth which is true in and of itself and not produced by anything. This truth is not established by stories, and it doesn't develop stories. But certainly most of the time we are within relative truth or fictional truth. Even if we try to tell the truth, it's difficult. Because I've been a bit sick, people often say, James, how are you? Well, I have a little bit of a cold, I have a little bit of a headache, my back's a bit sore. None of these are very important, but there are many, many experiences, sensations arising in my body. How am I? Fine. I'm okay. I feel a bit better. These kind of statements are meaningless because they're not really concerned with meaning. They're concerned with politeness. How am I? Well, I will say something not very alarming. If I was to say, well, I have this old body that is gradually falling apart and rotting, and because I've inherited my father's flat feet, my feet often get sore, then you might be saying, oh, too much information. How am I? It changes moment by moment. But coming through my mind, there are little, like the dandelion plant or weed, when it has flowered, it has a little head of these white seed things that fly off into the wind. So my sphere of experience is like a sky with many of these little seeds flying about. It goes here, goes there, goes everywhere. And if I catch this little seed as it floats by, I say, oh, I'm feeling better. And if I catch this other one, I say, oh, I'm a bit tired, I didn't sleep well. On the relative level, each and every one has some truth to it, but they've already vanished. So what are they referring to? So the more you observe your own mind and you see that impermanence is how you are. And of course, not only are you a stream of impermanent experience, but these experiences alter according to circumstances, whether you're at ease talking with someone or you find them difficult to relate to. My experience is not created by me. I am the experiencer of my experience. That is to say, I have some agency, some capacity for editing and forming the most conscious level of my experience. But I'm not myself generating these thoughts. Where do they come from? They come from my mind, but I don't seem to make them. My mind gives me thoughts. In fact, my mind gives me me. All that I experience as I, me, myself are transient formations, which by identifying with them, it is as if they are me. Oh, I am the showing or the flowering of my mind. My mind is empty, and its flowering or showing is also empty. The patterning of experience, both in terms of what I take to be inward, that is to say, thoughts, memories, feelings, and so on, or outward, in terms of what I see through my senses, all of these are ungraspable. Now, if they are ungraspable, why am I grasping? And when I grasp at my thought or my sensation, what do I get hold of? Something which is communicable and which seems to be offering a basis of meaning, of shared meaning, but it's too crude. It never quite catches the uncatchable. So at the moment, I can say my neck is a little bit stiff. If I bring my attention, if I was doing some mindful vipassana, bringing my attention to the area of my neck, then I find, oh, the pattern of experience which was arising has gone. But if I say my neck is sore, the non-specificity of sore covers a wide variety of sensation. So when I say my excuse me, my neck is sore, this is a fiction, an invention, a kind of abstraction which is able to somehow include a whole range of fleeting moments. So then you might say to someone else, oh God, I had James talking this morning. He said his neck's really sore. He has had so many problems. It must be really hard for him. But where is this sore neck? It's already gone. Sensation does not last long. Thoughts are fleeting. But conceptual conclusions seem to generate reliable entities which continue through the three times, from past to present to future. So what Virupa was talking about last time is that if you directly see the ungraspability of your own experience, and you are clear it is ungraspable, and so you stop grasping, this is the big front door to Mahamudra. But we have to see for ourselves. On the object side, there is nothing to grasp. And on the subject side, there is no stable subject doing the grasping. The mind itself is infinite, infinite, not a thing, not describable, not capturable. And all that we encounter, all that our dualistic consciousness allows us to establish as finite, this is a delusion resting on being unaware of the infinite. All finite appearances are within the infinite. We are so used to operating through the medium of binary opposition, of mutual exclusion. If it's hot, it's not cold. If it's wet, it's not dry. If it's infinite, it's not finite. But this is a very deluding way of thinking, because the infinite is not something that you can put in relation to the finite. The infinite doesn't have a border. There's nothing outside it. All finites are inside the infinite. Everything arises in the mind itself. This is not my mind as I think my mind is. For my mind, in which the image of my mind is a patterning of the transient content of my mind, this is not the infinite mind. Just as in the Heart Sutra, it says, form is not different from emptiness. So here I have my watch, this has a form. I put this in my left hand. In my right hand, I have some space, some emptiness. Now, you could try this as well. You put out your right hand, you look at it, oh, it's empty. It has space in it. So there is the space of my hand. But where is the boundary of that space? What about the space to the left, to the right, above and below? Space has no limit. The space of my right hand includes my left hand and the watch in my left hand. Only conceptually is it meaningful to say the space in my left hand, in my right hand. The space cannot be cut into pieces. So if we see this, every finite form is empty. What is it empty of? Any internal substance or inherent existence which will be able to keep emptiness outside. I'm me, I'm not you. But when I look for the me, I find that it's a flow of experience which in itself is ungraspable. Emptiness is not an added ingredient. It's not a subtle metaphysical substance, a quintessence. It is the unborn nature of the ground which shows many unborn appearances. In the Buddhist text, when you read unawareness, we need to be very careful about what this means. Everything which occurs is inseparable from emptiness. But unawareness is like a mad midwife who's running around cutting the umbilical cord. Now, when the baby comes out of the mother, it's probably a good idea to cut the umbilical cord. But when the baby is inside the mother, quite happily there, floating in the amniotic ocean, cutting the umbilical cord is not a good idea. This is a cup. This is my cup. My cup is like the scissors of the midwife. This is a cup in the world. Fortunately, I don't suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder. So if you want to drink out of my cup, I don't mind. It's a cup. It's my cup. It's a cup. When the possessive, the naming, the identification as this belongs to me, this doesn't belong to me, when this is operating, the mental activity of adopting or rejecting blinds us to the fact that whatever we adopt or reject is itself already inseparable from emptiness. Unfortunately, there are wars in many countries. People have to leave, they become refugees. They lose their house, their cows, their fields. They lose their money. They lose the validity of their certificates, which got them employment in their home country. Because when they go to a new country, that certificate is not given much status. Everything that is mine will be lost. It's lost at death, and it's lost before then with accidents and wars and illnesses. So this brings us to the essential crossroads of Dharma practice. If I believe in the reality of this construct of I, me, myself, and I want the continuity of myself, then the door to liberation, which is the absence of inherent existence in the self, will not be apparent to us. But if we see that the the concepts that we use to define our identity have only a temporary relevance, then we start to see the dependence and the contingency and relativity of our self-construct. So, I've been lucky, I've had a reasonably long life, and I've had many different identities, ways of manifesting, and most of them are out of date. I was a psychotherapist. Now I'm retired. So this particular way of behaving and reflecting and speaking, which I developed over many years, I don't activate anymore. It's receding into the background. Who I was and who I completely identified with being, I no longer am. This kind of reflection is very useful for loosening the tightness which binds us into our sense, I know who I am. And then we can start to understand what the Dharma is trying to say to us. So if we turn now to the text, we're at section B, presenting the pathway of relative Mahamudra. So we began last time with section A, presenting how the absolute is. The absolute is. That nothing there about pathways or journeys, because the absolute or the infinite or the mind itself is always full and complete here and now, forever. But in the relative Mahamudra, that is to say, when I start with myself as a limited person who wants to make progress towards awakening to the unchanging truth of Mahamudra, then I'm concerned with a pathway. I'm going to employ the vehicle of Mahamudra to take me on this journey towards the unchanging truth. Then he says this relative path to relative Mahamudra has two aspects: the deluded pathway and the non-deluded pathway. And so he says, first presenting the deluded pathway, he says, some cause deep torment by giving empowerments. Do you want to do this practice of Tara? Tara is very wonderful. She can help you. Oh yes, I want to do this practice of Tara. Well, first you need to get the empowerment. Do you want this? Yes, I want this. Now I have the empowerment of Tara. And for 1 week, I'm very excited. But the energy formation of my enthusiasm for Tara is already starting to change. It's not changing because I'm a bad person. It's changing because all compounded things are impermanent. But I've promised to do the Tara practice. So although I don't feel like doing the Tara practice, I had better do the Tara practice. Not just for 1 month or 1 year, but forever. So where is my happy excitement? So that's what this line means. Some cause deep torment by giving empowerments. We should not get too intoxicated on the spiritual path. It's not uncommon to find that children, before their birthday or before Christmas, are very clear about what they want as their present. And so you buy them the bicycle or the new tennis racket or whatever it is. And they like the bicycle very much, but their friends are using scooters and they want to be with their friends. So they don't need a bike, they need a scooter. It's like that. The excitement turns into, what will I do with this bicycle? I love bicycles. I love Tara. It's not so different. The mind is unreliable. Then he says, some count on beads saying hung and pet. So we have to remember he is teaching Mahamudra here. He's not teaching Tantra. So he's saying if you do this practicing Tantra of saying hung and pet and trying to control the forces of the world, the demons and so on, bad people continue doing bad things. And your magical mantra doesn't change so much. Mantras are forms of energy operating in the field of energy within which we live. And so you have to believe that the power of the mantra is stronger than the power of the emotion which is arising in your mind. You want to do hung and pet and not cry because your boyfriend has left you. That is to say, you're trying to change your experience. But as we've just been looking, the absolute doesn't change. The door to the open is an open door. It's not in the shape of Tara, it's not in the shape of hung or pet, it's just open like the sky. Then he says, some ingest feces, urine, blood, semen, and flesh. Because in the higher tantras, we offer things which would normally be thought of as difficult or dangerous or even disgusting. Because you try to convince yourself that good and bad are the same. So in the lower tantras, we don't do this. We offer nice things. We offer milk and butter and yogurt, and brown sugar, crystal sugar, granular sugar, or honey. These are good. These are pure. But in the higher Tantra, we say because the Buddha is open to everything and the Buddha sees the emptiness of everything, we can offer urine and feces or shit to the Buddha. Now, you may believe that you have a Buddha mind, you have Buddha nature, but do you have Buddha nose? So as you put your spoon in the shit, what do you smell? Is this chocolate? No, it's shit. So your body might have some little revulsion to this. Then you have to convince yourself this is a blessing. You're editing your experience. So he's saying, don't do this. Then he says, some are deluded by practicing the yoga of channels and winds. He's saying, whatever you construct will give you an experience which will vanish. So with the proper initiation and teaching, you can visualize the channels and the chakras and experience the movement of energy through these pathways. And when all the energy is held in the central channel, the thought diminishes. And then when you get up from the practice, thoughts return. If you have not understood that the thoughts themselves are empty, then the thoughts seem to be destroying the emptiness that you tasted when everything was held in the central channel. What he's saying here is because Mahamudra has actually been there from the very beginning, you don't have to create it. It's not covered by anything except your own mental activity. Now, in these 4 lines, he's talking about activities, mental activities, doing Dharma practice. If I don't do the practice, I won't get the result. But if the mind is clean, why am I cleaning it? But I don't feel that it's clean. I'm sure I have to purify my mind. That is a thought. These painful and difficult memories keep coming in my mind. I need to do some purification, some vajrasattva to get rid of them. This is the path of antidotes. We identify something as a limitation or a problem or a negative tendency. And so we want to get rid of it, to change it, to improve it. Now, he's talking here that from the point of view of the absolute, these kind of interventions, these kind of practices are forms of delusion. Because if the mind is pure from the beginning and you keep trying to purify it, then you are in a dialogue with yourself, with your own imaginings. So this is something to really see. Where we ended last time we were meeting, his last words were, although always changing, it never departs from the seal of empty how it is. Means already this morning you've had many different thoughts, feelings, plans, frustrations. Your mind is always changing. That is not in itself a problem. Why? Because whatever occurs in these changing formations never departs from the seal of empty how it is, just this. That is to say, awakening to the truth of non-duality dissolves all the false constructions of dualistic conceptualization. So when he's saying in these 4 lines that they are the deluded pathway, these activities are not bad in themselves. The delusion or the problem lies in projecting the power into the method. We use methods to make something. If you bake your own bread, then you will have your particular way of doing that. Somebody taught you and you continue with that, and it will change depending on the kind of bread you want to make. You could have a soda bread, a sourdough bread, a yeast-based bread. This depends on the method. Mahamudra is the mind, it is not a method. The purity of your mind is intrinsic. Sitting as you are at the moment, thoughts and feelings are arising. They move through the space of your mind. There is space for them to arise and space for them to pass. Your own open, empty mind is Mahamudra. And the fact that your open, empty mind is always filling with thoughts, plans, regrets, fears, this is also Mahamudra. All that limits you has no power to limit you. Your limitation arises from your belief in, your identification with these limiting factors. And when you examine your regret, you find that it is a conceptualized narrative. Someone might think, I wish I hadn't been so violent. I wish I hadn't been so selfish. I wish I hadn't had an abortion. The expression of this, whether it arises in the mind or out of your mouth, is here and gone. Nothing is established. This is a momentary patterning of your experience. If it's positive, it's usually expansive. If it's negative, it's contractive. Expanding and contracting are movements. Movement you can't catch. It's not a thing. So you might want to go back and read over the verses we looked at last time. My mind is Mahamudra, open and empty, bright and clear. Everything which arises, all experience is the patterns of energy or light and heat, the clarity of our mind. If you stay present with the movement of the mind, you will see that it is always self-liberating. But if you grasp at what is arising in the mind, you create the delusion that there is something substantial there which has to be changed. So this is very, very important. What is my problem? I hear the Dharma says, from the beginning, my mind is pure. It's not a thing. It's a luminous presence. But I am not awake to this because I'm caught up in all this work of interpreting and identifying and formation. Okay. So if my mind is pure and my own activity hides this purity from me, should I try harder and do more, or relax and do less? That's something each of us has to decide. There's nothing wrong with doing if we see that doing arises from the empty open ground. But if we are trying to improve doing by pushing against the movement of what is occurring, then they're like the salmon that come from the ocean into the rivers in Scotland. The river is coming down on a stony bed with little pools, and the salmon has to leap up from one pool into the next because it needs to get to its perfect place. It gets there and it lays its eggs, and then it's exhausted. And many salmon die at that point because it was swimming against the river. So we don't have to be like salmon. We can go with the flow, being present in the moment of the emergence of experience. This. Okay, so we take a break now for 30 minutes. Good. To you. Yeah. So now we continue to the second section, which is presenting the non-deluded pathway. Okay, this has 4 aspects. So first, there is instruction on the definitive view. And we always have to remember that the structure for so much of Tibetan Buddhism is around the view, the meditation, the behavior or conduct, and the result. And this view is not a philosophy. It's like a style. So there is a logic to the style. So there are many, many different fashion designers in the world. The House of Chanel has a wide range of materials and cuts and so on that it uses. But there's something quite distinctive about it. And so when you have a sense of that style, you can see whether the new season presentation is a kind of actualization of that style, a fulfillment of it, and then it's a wonderful show. But it's never going to look like Versace. So the view is a kind of integrity of approach, of style. It's not a dogma that you have to believe in, but it's more a way of embodiment of this particular orientation. So the comments that Virupa was making before about the limitations of Tantra was not because he dislikes Tantra. From the historical accounts, we can see he was a master of Tantra. But he's saying Mahamudra is not Tantra. There is a kind of harmony through our way of practice. If we're clear about the view, then the meditation will be obvious. If the view says your own mind itself is present in its fullness at this very moment, the meditations involving purification don't apply. So he says, emaho, meaning it's wonderful. Being guided by a pure guru, awaken in this way to the one point to be known. So he's saying there is one essential point which you really need to get clarity about, or rather clarity with, because it's by merging into the view, by having it permeate every aspect of you that the clarity shines forth. And it says being guided by a pure guru. This means somebody who is able to live the meaning of the text, who's not teaching with a desire for money or fame or power over other people, but is able to live the simplicity of the view and to present the simplicity of the view. So now he begins his presentation of the view. As everything is within delusion, there is no perfect awakening. So this is very interesting. All of this stuff which arises for you as your life, your hopes and fears, your days where things go well, your days when things go badly, this is what happens. So this is not a mistake. This is not a sign that something is wrong. He's saying, don't put in a wedge and separate delusion and awakening. So some of you will be perhaps more familiar with the general Buddhist teachings, where they say delusion is bad. It arises from ignorance. You want to get rid of it so that you can awaken. This is not the view here. Awakening comes with many different flavors. When you read the biographies of the 84 Mahasiddhas and the great yogis of the Indian period in the 8th, 9th, 10th centuries, many of them had quite strange lives. And yet, we believe they were awakened. They awakened with the emptiness of their limitations. If my limitations are truly constraining me, and I think they are the enemy, then the one thing I want to do is get rid of it. You might think, oh, I'm so tired of being angry or jealous or lazy. These bad things limit me. No. From the view of Mahamudra, these arisings or experiences are not limiting you. You are limiting yourself on the basis of believing that these patterns like anger are your qualities, they express something essential about you, and that you have to change it. So it's always useful to go back to the Heart Sutra. There, due to the blessing of the Buddha, Avalokiteshvara is able to point out there is nothing to be found which is other than empty. since everything is empty, what is there to be purified? So towards the end of the Heart Sutra, it's saying there is no kind of awakening or seeing how it is. Because he's saying it is already here. It is already now. You're not going from A to B. A and B are, it's as if they are written on water. I'm in samsara. I want to get to nirvana. This is just names written on the wind or written on the waves. The awakening is the awakening to the emptiness of your limitations. Anger and emptiness, jealousy and emptiness, self-hatred and emptiness, depression and emptiness, anxiety and emptiness. Without trying to remove these patterns of emergence, if you stay present with them, you see they are self-arising and self-liberating. And therefore, if you like, you will have an imperfect awakening. Or to put it another way, you can have awakening on the basis of imperfection. All your habits, your obscurations, your convoluted ruminations, all are empty, devoid of any true substance. So when you read of, for example, Kukuripa, who lived on an island with dogs, running everywhere and yapping, and he rolling about with them, he is awakened. His awakening is on the basis of the interaction with the dogs remains within non-duality. If we met him, what would we think? He's not a lama sitting on a throne in brocade robes with a very nice teacup. He's not got hundreds of followers and a chant master and someone to make the torma and so on. He's a dirty, smelly guy lying with the dogs. How will we know if he's enlightened? So then we have to look up our guide to enlightenment. The enlightened person should clean their teeth twice a day. What shall we say? How will we know? We won't know. So this goes back as to whether you have a pure guru, whether they have a big name, or whether they are very polite, or whether they have many followers. That doesn't prove anything. There are no self-existing entities. There is no guru. But if you're lucky, there is your guru. That is to say, guru is a relationship. It's a person whose way of being, whose way of manifesting their mind and their connectivity is harmonious with you, and you lock into something for a while. So what he's saying here very clearly is, don't fall asleep in your assumptions. If you assume, you will project out your beliefs and concepts onto the world, and this will muffle or disguise what is occurring. And then he says, as there is nothing to awaken to and no one to do the awakening, it is beyond partiality. So to this we might add, and no specific method for doing the awakening. You awaken to yourself, to your empty mind. So when you feel terrible, when you feel useless, where is this thought? I'm useless, I've wasted my life. It's in your mind. Has to be in your mind, it's your thought. And it's gone. Like a shooting star, like a mirage. It has no substance. I awaken when I open to the open. Things take on a shape by being closed. I'm holding my cup. My cup is blue and not green. The blueness of the cup is excluding green. That is to say that when I find something to take hold of, the thing I take hold of is figural. And all the other potential in the field, which is there at the same time, goes into the background. So I'm talking about my blue cup. I'm not telling you about my shoes. My shoes are here, but the focus is on the blue cup. The fact that I focus on the blue cup doesn't make my shoes disappear. But it is as if that is what happens. It's the basis for shamatha practice. I focus on my breath. I don't want to be distracted. My breath is very important. But so are my legs, but not for the purposes of shamatha. So I need to have an object to do my training in shamatha. That is, these objects, a disc of clay, a white letter R, statue of the Buddha, these are methods. But as he says, as there is nothing to awaken to, the object is not important. And there is no one to do the awakening. The subject is not important. It is beyond partiality. Everything has always been empty of inherent existence. The existence, if we can use that term, the existence it seems to have is an attribution of my own mental activity. And as we know about ourselves, we have a lot of bias and prejudice. We have partiality. We like some foods more than others, some films more than others, some music more than others. Because food and films and music seem to be objects which we can experience. But Mahamudra has no bias to the object or to the subject. All of your subjectivity, all of the ingredients for who you think you are, who you feel you are, these are not yours. These are factors which arise in the field of your experience and which you privilege or you highlight in order to maintain this sense, this is me. Well, he's saying, don't enter into a duality of subject and object. What you take to be the object, what you take to be the subject, arise and pass. They are experiences. They are not real things out there or in here. As there is neither freedom nor non-freedom, this is the state of unchanging equality. This might sound very stupid, because in terms of our sense of self, we have the sense, I'm not free. This is why the line before is so important. The subject, the egoic subject, I, me, myself, is very aware of freedom and non-freedom. Just as the Buddha said, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. So freedom becomes non-freedom, and non-freedom becomes freedom. When I came back from India after many years, and I had no means to make any money, I managed to do different kinds of training, and then I got my first job, and I felt a sense of freedom. Now I'll get some money every month, and I don't have to worry about having no food. So I had the freedom from the anxiety of surviving in a capitalist economy, and that made me happy. But I also had the non-freedom of having to go to work every day. Freedom and non-freedom are born together. You get freedom from something. It is a dualistic positioning. So when we say, I want to be free, I want liberation, well, that's very nice. But quite possibly you've taken the bodhisattva vow. So now you feel, you understand, you see your mind clearly, you are free of delusion. Wonderful freedom. Now you have to take care of all sentient beings. You promised you were going to help them. Now you have the resources to help them, so do it. What he's saying here is don't get trapped in this forest of concepts. Releasing yourself from reliance on all these organizing polarities, then you experience the state of unchanging equality. Freedom is inseparable from emptiness. Non-freedom is inseparable from emptiness. The equality between all phenomena is their emptiness. They are not only empty because they manifest, but they are not only manifest and seemingly solidly real because they are simultaneously empty. The evenness or equality in being empty or unborn or open or without inherent existence, this is not other than these infinite forms of manifestation. Okay, there are so many forms which arise. We don't have to homogenize them and say, oh, they are all just empty. Because the diversity of appearance is the flowering of the potential of the dharmakaya. Dharma is not dogmatic. It's saying, look for yourself, see what you can see. The Buddha, they say, taught 84,000 different teachings or dharmas because the people who came to him had different constitutions, different patternings of their karma, their life experience, their intelligence, and so on. As we manifest into the world, if we have some clarity, then it's like the nirmanakaya. It means I am a dream within a dream. I imagine I am like this. I imagine you are like that. Now, if I have some relaxation in me, some pliability, as I approach you and I feel how you are, as I receive you, I can respond to you as you are, or at least as you are revealed to me. I don't have to just pump out me being James, me being James. You and James creates a particular patterning. This is why it's the nirmanakaya, because it changes shape according to situations. The ego self is trying to hang on to its notion of this is who I am, this is what I like, what I don't like. This is okay. I remember with my teacher, Sia Lama, and maybe there were 10 of us. We were coming down from Tsopema on the bus. And about 8 o'clock at night, we arrived in Chandigarh bus station. And we took our tin boxes off the roof of the bus and we put them on the ground where the buses had been in a circle. And we sat inside our little wall of boxes and did our puja. Sia Lama had his big cymbals and was making a lot of noise. All that's required to do the practice is to do the practice. You can do it in the toilet, you can do it in your bed, you can do it anywhere. Because every situation is equal in its emptiness. We're sitting on the dirty ground. This is not an obstacle. Unless you believe we should only do Dharma in pure, clean places. However the formation is, you can do the practice there. And this is something very important, because the less manifest formulation you have of your practice, the more you can apply it everywhere. So when the Chinese invaded Tibet, and after some years they started rounding up all the lamas and put them in prison. And of course, they didn't have any bell or vajra or mala for counting their mantras. Some of them had such a habit that their thumb kept moving on their hand as if they were counting malas, and sometimes the Chinese would cut the thumb off. Oh, if you don't want to provoke the Chinese, don't do prostrations, don't say prayers out loud. But you can do it internally. Nobody need know. Any situation can be a place of Dharma. But if you tie yourself to some forms being necessary because they are very good, then you create difficulties for yourself. What we say is good is only within relative truth. For some people in Russia, the invasion of these eastern parts of Ukraine are very good. And for many Ukrainians, it's not so good. For people coming up from South America into Mexico and trying to get into North America, getting through the border is wonderful. But for many people in North America, this is very bad. We don't want these illegal immigrants. These are all ideas. Samsara is made of ideas. Ideas have no substance. But when you believe in an idea, it can justify your killing someone or torturing them. It's very important to see this. The force of samsara is belief. Colonialism, economic exploitation, sexual abuse, all are based on ideas of entitlement. So when he says the state of unchanging equality, this is a state free of the divisions created by conceptual definition. If one truly awakens in this way, there is no need to ask others, because it will ring true. If you rely on your thoughts to tell you about how you're doing, that's more difficult, because you can easily cheat yourself. But if you're simply relaxed, open, and present, not resting on anything, then what would be the basis for cheating yourself? You see the potential of different thoughts and feelings and memories arising and vanishing by themselves. All stories are empty of truth, because essentially they are means of connectivity. This year there'll be many elections in different countries like India and America. People will believe in different parties and vote accordingly. In some countries, the ruling party will be sure that they should continue to rule, and so they will adjust the results of the election. This is very popular, because I believe I should be the president. I trust my mind. So I put the opposition into prison or shoot them, because it's obvious that I am the president. So this is not what he is saying. It's not like I'm enlightened because I believe I'm enlightened. And also, it's not that you're not enlightened because you believe you're not enlightened. Don't believe so much. see, stay with the senses, stay with the freshness of the moment. And if we do this, it is self-proving, self-validating. Last time we looked at the meaning of Mahamudra and how it means the great seal, the royal seal, which once it's put onto a document mustn't be changed. The royal seal is a sign that this is authentic. So Mahamudra is where your own mind, if you like, certifies itself or seals itself in this unchanging openness. Thoughts cannot do this. No matter how many Dharma books you study and read, it won't bring you to this. You have to read your own mind. You have to get to know how some thoughts seem very thick and strong and others are very thin. And come to know that however they are empty of inherent existence. So then he says, as everything is the clarity of the dharmakaya, the mental activity of rejecting and adopting. The dharmakaya means the mind which is open to itself, which is self-aware. The dharmakaya is not located somewhere. It's not actively trying to work out what is going on. The clarity of the dharmakaya is the immediacy of the emptiness of everything. Appearances are not what we take them to be. Some of us may have had the experience of falling in love in this life, and then come to realize that the person we have fallen in love with is not who we thought they were. If I had known this, I would not have fallen in love with you. If we could see this about our shoes, about a piece of chocolate cake, about a glass of red wine, oh, if I had known that you are not who I thought you were, I wouldn't have eaten this second slice of cake. I call you beloved cake. And then you whisper in my ear, no, I am 500 calories, not what I thought you were. So the clarity of the dharmakaya is not based on beliefs or projections, but on the immediacy of unfolding. So then he says, because of this, the mental activity of rejecting and adopting does not occur. Very often our Dharma life begins when we take refuge. And they say the Dharma is good in the beginning, the middle, and in the end. There's nothing to be rejected or adopted. Oh, what will I reject? This aspect of the field of experience because I don't like it. I see that other people are not rejecting this aspect, but I am, because I'm me, and I don't like it. So rejecting and adopting are dependent on the duality of subject and object. If you relax within the dharmakaya, within the presence of the ungraspability of the ground of your own being, there is nothing to adopt or reject. We don't need to tidy up our life too much. Then he says, as there is neither meditation nor non-meditation, characterization cannot stain. So this characterization is like the second aspect of unawareness. It's the unawareness of employing signs to read and make sense of what is going on. So on the basis of my habitual thought formations, I believe that one Dharma practice is good, better than another one. So I want to do the one that I like and not do the one I don't like. And when we meditate, this is you. Now you have to be careful. Here, the word meditation is being used to describe something that we do. It's an activity. So if I'm meditating, I'm giving focused attention to something, I'm trying to visualize or recite something. And if it's non-meditation, the mind's just coming and going and a bit all over the place. But when we rest in the mind itself as it is, there is nothing that could be ruined, and there is nothing to be improved. It is as it is, however it is, and however it is inseparable from the ever-open ground or emptiness. Therefore, characterization cannot stain. So if you go to a cinema with a friend and they really like one of the characters and you don't, both of you have something to say about how the acting was and the script and so on. But the film is an illusion. The actors are not authentically being themselves. They are pretending, hopefully authentically, to be somebody else. So what you or your friends say, these are opinions about an illusion. They cannot stain what was presented because there's nothing there to carry the weight of the stain. This is, again, very helpful for us. I really like this actor. She is wonderful. That is an opinion. It doesn't establish anything in the world except for the fact that I might want to go and see the next film that she is in. That is to say, my belief alters the patterning of my behavior as I move close to or away from phenomena in the world. But it doesn't establish any essential truth about the actress or about the film. So, if all that I can say is just opinion and not truth, why am I spending so much time with these opinions? Because they shift and change. Looking back over your life, you see how certain films or books or foods have been very close to you, and then you're not so interested. The fact that something seems real and true and important, that feeling should be a little alarm bell. This is the intensity of the feeling is telling me something about the patterning of my interpretive thought. It is not giving me true knowledge of the actual qualities of the object. This characterization or opinion doesn't touch the ever-shifting field of phenomena. Moreover, there is no reliance on perceived appearances and non-appearances. It means, again, when you see something which looks wonderful, you go into a park and you see a tree in the distance and you want to walk towards it because its shape fascinates you. And then you see, because it's like a botanical garden, the tree has a little name tag on it and it tells you what it is. And now you think, oh, I haven't seen this kind of Japanese tree before. I'm going to take a photo of it and share it with my friends because this is very unusual. So why am I doing that? Because I want to have something to say. I want to have something to show to them. If I show them the picture, this will interest them. And the subtext is, and I will interest them. Oh. So now I'm relying on the patterning of the world to be an extension of my own shaping. So he's saying, don't do this. Stay with the unchanging openness of the dharmakaya. With no notion of actions or actors, there is nothing to fixate on. Something was done. I did that something. But the action has already vanished. And although I did that 1 hour ago, I don't feel like doing it now. So, who did the action? Someone I used to be. Why did you do it? You'd have to ask that person. But they've gone. Yeah. The actor emerges situationally, and life moves on, and life moves on. So if we don't take ourselves to be permanent and the experiences of the world to be permanent, there is nothing to fixate on. Life is fresh. It's now. This is all we ever have. In this moment, whatever is arising is the whole of your world. It has the perceptual immediacy of the vitality of your senses as they display the potential of your own awareness. And the flow of experience is unceasing. It shows, and it shows. There is nothing to fixate on. We don't know what will happen. So we relax in the out breath. We're here. And we respond according to situations. We don't know what we have to do. But our connectivity with the emerging field will allow us to gain optimal contact with the field factors so that our response has the optimal traction required. So then he says, free of the intellect's hopes and fears, all longing is left behind. Oh, our intellect or our educated intelligence can develop many different hopes and fears. Some people focus on the enormous potential benefits of artificial intelligence, and other people are very doubtful and even afraid of where artificial intelligence might lead us. He's saying, especially in relation to these data-based new forms of the labyrinth, you can't think your way out of it. Don't enter into hopes and fears. As long as you breathe in and breathe out, experiences will occur. How they will be, nobody knows. So drop all your longing, your projection of some agenda, how I want it to be, what's so very important. It is like this. And what is this? Patterns of emptiness. If you believe it is strongly real, it will be very upsetting. Oh, I personally am very upset by what is happening for the Palestinians. I have enough knowledge of the situation to know that there are many, many historical causal factors. But I would like there to be peace. This longing then leads me to feel upset if I hear that there is more attacking of civilians. My upset doesn't change anything. If I stay with the upset, it's likely to lead me to a judgment. These people are bad, they are cruel. Now I have a prejudicial mind. So we have to be very careful. Of course, we have to employ our intelligence to survive in the world. But when we start to imagine everything is a problem, and if only we think enough, we can solve these problems, then we are going far from awareness. So the intellect in its simplicity, recognizing this is blue, this is green, this is hot, this is cold, on that level, it's not a problem. But once I start layering the blue and the red and the green with my opinions and what is the best shade of red, and I don't like that red, and so on. That is to say, the ego's basic longing is to have the world the way it wants it to be. So this is a very big mistake. Because as soon as you have an agenda or a sense of direction, obstacles will arise. Oh, if you're just going for a walk and you're doing it in the forest where there are many trees, you go this way and that way and you're getting exercise, so it's quite pleasant. But if somebody is chasing you and you're trying to get through the forest very quickly, then you find yourself trapped behind some trees or some bushes, and it feels terrible, as if the forest is oppressing you. You're not being oppressed by the forest, you're oppressed by your own intention. Now, both Mahamudra and Dzogchen have a certain passive aspect to them. Tantra in general is much more active. I want to make something happen. So there are mantras for causing rain, there are mantras for stopping rain. There's mantras to protect a house. There's mantras to repel obstacles. It is to say, I want to achieve something. I want to get the blessing of Padmasambhava. So I follow the structure of the practice. I say the 7-line prayer again and again. And I trust what the texts say, that if I have enough faith and I do it with a good intention, I will receive the blessing. That belongs to the view of Tantra. Here, looking at Mahamudra is a different view. From the beginning, everything is Mahamudra, everything is complete, sealed within the inseparability of awareness and emptiness. If everything is lacking internal definition, then my ascription of good and bad has to do with me and not to the object. Oh, so maybe the focus is not manipulating the pattern of appearances in the world, but on relaxing my own identification with the thoughts and feelings that arise. So if you see this, then you understand the rationale for the kind of practice that we do. My own busy mind is the obstacle. Let go of the busyness. But I have to, I want to, I need to. If our attention merges into these thoughts, we will be running here and there. And this will not be helpful. So relax and release. And work with circumstances. You are neither the slave nor the master. We collaborate with the potential of the emergent moment. Okay, so now we have a break. We could break for 55 minutes and come back at 2 o'clock on English time. Good. See you then. Bye. Okay. So we've looked quite a lot at the basis of the view. It's like a guiding principles, an ethos. For example, the ethos in a dictatorship is different from one in a liberal democracy. Or if you go out and you're looking for a restaurant, you can see as soon as you open the door whether it's likely to be very expensive or not so expensive. So with this view of Mahamudra, we're not focusing on impermanence and the quality of our attention and developing the 6 paramitas and so on. This doesn't mean that we think these are unimportant, but these are kind of side dishes. They're not the direct path. However, if you find yourself blocked in your practice of Mahamudra, you can go and make use of these adjunct features as a support to get over a hurdle. For example, when the texts say, don't chase after past thoughts, don't waste expectantly for future thoughts, but you find that you have a kind of hair trigger and you respond very quickly, then reading Shantideva on the perfection of patience might be very useful. So it's not either or, but you have to be thoughtful about what is my actual limitation at this moment. So then he says, if you awaken to the unchanging presence of how it is, as shown by your guru, all your various memories and thoughts will dissolve within all-inclusive space. Anyway, your memories and thoughts dissolve in space. It's from our attachment which keeps trying to pull them back or replicate the feeling tone. So if you're having a quarrel with a friend or a partner, and you say, I need you to know how much you hurt me, they might say, listen, you just have to get over it. It's past, I'm sorry, but let's move on. But then we say, hey, you did it to me. It's easy for you to say, move on. I'm the one stuck with what you did to me. So instead of being in the unchanging presence of how it is, we keep representing our idea of how I am. And our attachment and the difficult feelings which are evoked come back stronger and stronger. Letting go is the basis of freedom. Now, you might think this is the royal road to immorality because, oh, everything happens, it's gone, it doesn't matter. This is where we have to remember we are in samsara and lots of painful and cruel things happen here. These things happen. You did it to me. Duality. I did it to you. Duality. If you stay on the fresh point between these polarities, that will protect you from immorality. The immoral or the bad behavior arises when we identify with the thought and carry it through. So the mind is like space. So then he says, with consciousness not dwelling on objects, one is free of all longing attachment. This is something you have to really investigate for yourself. So if I look out of my window, I see a blue big 4-wheel drive car. As some of us have looked many times before, what I said is a lie. I don't see this blue car and know that it has 4-wheel drive. I see a shape. If you ask me what kind of shape, I will describe it with concepts. It's longer than it's high and so on. Something blue. That's a kind of vague object. Blue car, that's getting more precise. If it's a car, it's not 3 people dancing. Something blue could be three people in blue dresses dancing in a circle. When you grasp an object, it becomes something definitive. I seem to have got hold of something. I have definite knowledge. So when we focus in on something, it's important to see the difference between direct perception and conceptual interpretation. Because when he's saying, by not dwelling on objects, one is free of all longing attachment, it's difficult to apprehend the object unless we can put some handles on it. I like that blue car. I would like to have a blue car like that. My longing becomes more intense the more I see the qualities that I am attributing to the object. I'm falling in love with my own projections. If you see that, then you see, oh, I put myself in prison. Maybe I don't need to do that. So then he says, thus all phenomena are liberated in the state of uncontrived, unchanging presence. So this is like the example of the mirror. The mirror shows what is placed in front of it, but it's not involved with what is in front of it. The reflection arises in the mirror, very intimate. And yet the mirror is not modified or limited by the presence of this particular reflection. So when we are just relaxed, relax into the state of presence, which is not contrived, it's not created, it's not something artificial, then as the phenomena arise, they have no handles on them, and we have no desire to grasp them. And so they go free. Moment by moment, experiences are coming and going, coming and going. It's not that we are not aware of what is occurring. Otherwise, the practice would make us stupid. We are aware, but uninvolved. And so the kind of egoic glue that binds us into situations is released. We just see, oh yes, we don't need to do anything with these arisings. Some of you might recall this very precise teaching from Siya Lama. The dharmakaya is for you, and the form kayas, that is to say, the sambhogakaya and the nimanakaya, they are for others. When you rest in your own unborn awareness, it's very peaceful. You're not a subject, you're not a person, you're not isolated from the field. Your awareness is open to the entire field and reveals whatever is coming and going. Therefore, it's contented. Nothing can disturb it. Now, if this was the whole truth, we would then be in some kind of Theravadan enlightenment, not disturbed by anything, but just in this inactive, I'm okay state. But we want to work for the benefit of all beings. The best way to work for all beings is not to do too much work. Otherwise, you get very tired. So just as the martial arts expert uses the energy of their opponent to defeat the opponent, so we use the energy of the arising thought or feeling or memory to carry the arising away. It's self-liberated with its own energy, and we don't need to get exhausted. So then when we get up from the practice and we are moving in as a shape in a world of shapes, of course we are touched and moved and we respond. But it's not we as an ego that is touched. The arising situation is co-emergent with the response. You move according to the movement of the field. If you're in the park and someone throws you a frisbee, your body has to move to catch it. You're not the master of the frisbee and you're not the servant either. You're collaborating with the other person through the medium of the frisbee. So this is what it's pointing towards. So he says, unattached to anything, one is free of stains such as pride. So if you're going to cook something and then you taste it, it's good. Tongue feels happy. You don't need to say, I am a wonderful cook. That is to add an unnecessary ingredient. The food is good, full stop, no unnecessary ingredients. So anger, pride, jealousy, and so on, these are unnecessary additions. You might see someone gorgeous, and the thought arises, I want you. Well, that's the point, to have a little conversation with your awareness. What do you want them for? Maybe one night, some fun? Always, 24 hours a day? I want a little bit of you. That is not romantic. However, you might meet somebody who also just wants a little bit of you. That could work. But once you add desire, you're so special for me, I really need you, I want to be always with you, you're telling lies. Not because you wouldn't like to love them, but because what arises in your mind is not done by you. So you can find yourself bored with someone. And this is often seen as a kind of betrayal. Parents are often bored with their children. But that's not a very easy thing to say. No, I always love you, darling. I'm so interested in what you tell me. This is the theater of the ego. So, how shall we proceed? Don't say too much. Don't say too much. We don't know what the future will be. We don't know how we're going to be. I'll always love you is a wish or a hope, but it's not necessarily true. Then he says, devoted and well guided by the holy, one desists from all mental activity and is without stain or doubt. Oh, one has to be relaxed, present, careful. If we stay with the first taste, the first showing of any situation, we can see how we might participate in this moment. And this is fresh. But earlier this morning, we were looking at relative truth and how it's like a fiction. It's made up. We see that all kinds of thoughts and feelings arise, but we don't have to believe them as being anything more than of the moment. Oh, if a small child says, I hate you, mommy, it's better not then just to phone the orphanage and say, take away this child. Because you know that children have many, many different moods. In the moment they hate you, this will pass. So if we see that in children, maybe the child is also showing you how our own mind works. The difference is that we are more sophisticated and more able to justify our statement of the moment as being some enduring truth. So excessive, unnecessary mental activity creates stains and doubts. In the various wars that are going on, many terrible things are done, and there are overt wounds we can see, but the mind is also being wounded. You are my enemy. I hate you. I will always hate you. I will teach my children to hate you. So this is the way excessive mental activity goes. It turns the pattern of a moment into a permanent truth. Then he says, with knower and known purified, the essence of phenomena is directly revealed. I'm sure for Tibetans in Tibet in the old days, this wasn't so easy. But maybe for us, this is more difficult because we have been to our Western school in which we had to learn to know a lot of things. And we would be rewarded for being good at knowing and to be the knower, to know what's going on, to hear a noise and to be able to work out what it is, to be able to remember people's birthdays and so on. This gives us a certain social identity. This is the currency of samsara, of the domains of limitation. But what he's meaning here is knowing can occur, the immediate apprehension of something. Or that's not quite right. It's not the apprehension of something, it's the reception of appearance. And as with the mirror receives the light coming from the object and immediately shows the reflection. So when the mind is resting in Mahamudra, occurrence and response is like a seamless wave. And so the solidification or the dualizing of knower and known doesn't occur. And the essence of all phenomena is directly revealed as appearance and emptiness. In order to see this, you have to sit quietly with your mind. Don't think about what is happening. Thoughts about thoughts will come and go. So try to receive what is offered and let it go. So again, looking out the window, I see blue shade. If I call it a blue car, I'm already putting handles on to take a hold of it. So keep it simple. Don't block thoughts. Don't invite them in. Let them come and go. So he says that if you haven't awakened to this unchanging presence Mahamudra, this open here I amness, then always under the power of duality, one will be attached to everything. So imagine you're standing with a friend in front of a big mirror on the wall. You can look at your friend. You see them. I feel in my body, I am me, I'm not you. Then you turn and look in the mirror. Oh, who is in the mirror? You and me. We are both reflections in the mirror. This is how it is. I am like a reflection in a mirror. I'm a very talkative reflection in the mirror. But there is no fixed substance to me. I look at my screen and I see some faces, sensations in my body, thoughts, feelings, all of this comes together and somehow I'm speaking. Who is doing this? No one's doing it. We are doing it. I wouldn't speak if you weren't here. I speak to you. I speak with you. because the mood of how you are also influences how I speak. This co-emergence, this arising together, is like the two reflections in the mirror. I am not outside what is going on. I'm not an observer or a witness of the world. I am a non-dual participant. That is to say, what is important is the continuity of our connectivity. That's what a game is. You keep the ball moving. The ball is the flow of conversation and connection. But once you think, I am playing this game with you and I want to win, then I'm into duality. I'm no longer simply participating, being in contact with you in the emergent moment, but I have an agenda. And I'm going to try to enforce this because I want to win. So this is what he's saying. You become attached to everything. Everything becomes important in relation to yourself. Then he says, many kinds of dull, obtuse thoughts and ideas will arise continuously. This may be an experience that you are familiar with, that you can't quite believe how tedious your own mind is. Oy, oy, oy. So he says, and not resting in the unerring truth, one will wander in samsara. Oh, we can think about the future, what hasn't yet happened. If China and Russia join forces, maybe they will create a huge war. Oh, maybe. But the birds are singing and the spring flowers are growing, so let's look at the flowers. Come on, you have to take life seriously. What do you think will happen? I don't know. Why should I think about something which can't be known? Yeah, but you could imagine, you could invent a story about it. That is relative truth, fictional truth. And if you follow this endless patterning of thoughts, you will wander in samsara. So then he says, attachment and craving for fame, praise, possessions, respect, and the great understanding arising from study and reflection, and having good experiences, accomplishments, blessing and power are the signs of the path of contrivance. So he's saying, observe yourself closely. What are you up to? You may say, oh, I want to get enlightened. But it's also quite nice if we study and then we know a lot. If people are pleased to see us and they praise us, these can look these can seem to be quite rewarding, but they are dangerous. Oh, you are very good at this. I am good at this. It flows through you. You're good at it for a while. Look how you function, how intelligent you are. When is your stroke going to happen? When will the blood supply in your brain get stopped? Oh ho, very intelligent person. Who are you now? Dribbling out the side of your mouth. We need to know this. We are impermanent. I'm good at this. We need a comma. I'm good at this for a while. I'm good at this depending on circumstances. My being good at it is not some internal essence inside me. Oh, because once you want to have the signs of success, whether it's meditation success or worldly success, you become artificial. You're trying to make something happen. Oh, sometimes in the text it says, at this sort of point, it says, if you go to heaven, go to heaven. If you go to hell, go to hell. Maybe you won't be very healthy. Whether your body is healthy or not healthy, that doesn't influence your awareness. Someone might look very beautiful and be very intelligent and know so very much, but they might not be aware of their own mind. They are condemned to being praised by the world. But if the world doesn't like you, you have a very useful crossroads. You can follow the path of the statement, the world doesn't like me, so I must be stupid or bad. Or you follow the path of the question, the world doesn't like me. Who am I? How am I? If you follow that path and you stay close to the moment by moment manifestation of your experience, then you can really see this open state of presence. So he says, the wise do not focus on these signs of success, for they stain the pure meaning. Here, the wise or wisdom means not to be involved with whatever is arising. Your mind is actually quick. But what does that mean? I need to think about this. No, you don't. If you think about it, you will make meaning. This is contrived. When you go out and you see the spring flowers in the park, you receive this through your eyes. You don't need to know the name of the flower. You don't need to think, oh, I could pick some of these and take them home. The flower reveals, you receive. That's enough. But what is it? It is for you what you tell it it is. And if you stay with that meaning, you will not see the flower. You will only see the dull stupidity of your own mind. And that's why he says this apprehending knowledge is a stain. The pure meaning is ungraspable, but it won't make you stupid. Your mind will relax, you will be more fresh, you are more responsive. So then he says, taking such things, it means the praise, possessions, and so on in the previous stanza. If you take these things to be the truth, you will fall into the two extremes. The two extremes are existence and non-existence, or permanence and a kind of nihilistic vanishing without trace. And if you do this, then you will be revolving in samsara, because you will be taking your own story about what is occurring to be the truth of the situation. You will think, you will believe that you are uncovering the truth, when in fact you are covering it. So, as an example, you can try for yourself. Stand in front of a mirror, close to it, see your face, then breathe onto the mirror. The little droplets of water in your breath will cover the face of the mirror. The mirror will be opaque. You have made it opaque. So when you breathe onto the world with your conceptual mind, everything gets a bit hazy, but with handles. And then you can have an interesting conversation with your friend about how you disagree and what's important. And then you die. And he says this taking your opinion, your own mind's fabrication to be the truth, is the root of becoming. Traditionally, on the outer porch of Tibetan temples, they paint the wheel of life. This is the wheel of becoming, which shows how we go round and round and round, one thing leading to another. And this, the root of becoming, the root of being in this circle of the 12 stages or links, is not understanding the absence of inherent existence. So he says, don't do this. Therefore, look for the ground, look for the root of the ground of all. The root of the ground of all is ungraspable emptiness. When you hear a sound, it's already vanishing. When you put something in your mouth, it's already starting to dissolve. All the senses are dynamic. They reveal processes, movements of experience. They don't reveal things. You conceptualize things. So the ground of all is not the ground of all things, because there are no true things. It means the ground of all experience. Experience arises at the point of contact. So in the tantric system, you have the male and female deity. The female represents wisdom, the male represents method. When they have sexual contact, the male essence, the refined semen, and the female essence, the refined essence of her menstrual blood, meet together. And this is the Amrita, the liberating elixir. It's not two things coming together, two people coming together. Rather, it's two potentials. Each of us is potential, can manifest in so many ways. And so the world, if you like, the potential of the world, or you might say object side, in the potential of your presence or your awareness here, what you might call the subject side, they join together in a union which has a very short gestation period, because it immediately gives rise to experience. Neither the seeming subject side, nor the object side, nor the experience exist as entities. It is the interplay of illusory forms which generate more illusory forms and more illusory forms, and not one real self-existing entity ever comes into existence. So he says, look for the ground of all and for the essence of mind, however it seems. They're not essentially different. Some of you have done this practice of gazing at the sky. When you have a clear blue sky, you sit with the sun behind you, so it's not shining into your eyes. Then you just relax into the out-breath and let your gaze go out into the sky. There is no object to catch. The openness of the sky is very vibrant, but there is nothing there. And as you get used to resting, but not resting on anything or in anything, then you see that your mind itself is also open and empty like the sky. This is called meditating sky to sky. And then we see that the ground of all and the essence of mind are the same. The same doesn't mean identical. It means they are the same in their emptiness. That is to say, they have a non-reductive equality. By looking, one sees that there is nothing and is freed from all mental activity, and so there is liberation. So you look for your mind. Many of you are familiar with these 5 questions. Does the mind have shape? Does it have color? Does it have size? Does it come from somewhere? Does it remain somewhere? Does it go somewhere? These are very useful questions to sit quietly and explore for yourself. If we remember that we're looking at how our mind is rather than what it is, it makes it much easier. So when he says one sees that there is nothing, means thoughts, memories, and so on may arise, but they are forms of nothing. They are forms of emptiness. What makes my thoughts seem real is my belief that they are real. So if I remain centered without leaning towards them, without investing them with some particular importance, then I see they arise and vanish. So he says, if you do this, you are freed from all mental activity. Now we have to be very careful with words, with sentences like this. It doesn't mean that you have no mental activity. It means you are freed from reliance on mental activity as the means to establish the truth. If you didn't have any mental activity, you wouldn't be able to relate to other people. In the Dzogchen tradition, we are very grateful to Garab Dorji for first speaking about what is Dzogchen, what is the mind. If we had met Kuntu Zampo, and he just sits there directly communicating to those who can receive it, we would be sitting thinking, when's he going to speak? What's he going to say? Is he always like this? Maybe he tells other people, but he doesn't want to tell me. We would be filling the space with our dualistic thoughts. But Garab Dorji was able to explain in language, and so we started to come into some understanding. Thoughts are not bad. They are energy. The energy has a function. The function is linking. Thinking is linking. One thought leads to another. You get patterns of understanding. You can think about what somebody said last week and so on. They are a tool. Now, a sharp knife can be a tool for killing people, for chopping up bananas, can use it for all sorts of things. So it's the same with conceptual thought. If your mind is clear, you employ it in the service of connectivity with others. It belongs with the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. We have to be able to relate to how people are, but in the manner of a dream, not taking it as real or true or something reliable. So liberation lies in the middle way between saying it's very strongly real or it's nothing at all. So now he moves on to the second aspect of this way of presenting Mahamudra, which is Pith instruction on the practice of meditation. So it begins, this is, cannot be applied in the space of the empty phenomenon of the mind. That is to say, we're used to making assertive statements which define a situation. For example, you might be talking with a friend and someone you know comes up, but your friend doesn't know them, and you say, oh, this is Fritz. Now, of course, we know there may be more or less Fritzness to Fritz. Fritz is a name. Someone might be used to being called Fritz, but not feel like Fritz. Actually, I'm a Fritzless Fritz. But for the purposes of conventional conversation, you can call me Fritz. That is to say, when you name things, it is as if you are attributing to them a real existence. So the name, like Fritz, becomes a handle so that you can add more onto this thing you've somehow got hold of. So he's saying this kind of construction and development and elaboration cannot be applied in the space of the empty phenomena of the mind. In the space of the empty phenomena of the mind, the name is directly perceived as an empty signifier. There is no truly existing referent. And so he says, within the space of the empty phenomena of the mind, there is no duality of meditation and something to meditate on. So this morning we did this meditation of the Guru Yoga of the White Ah. When we make the sound of Ah, we are releasing ourselves from our identification. Our senses are open, so there is light coming in. We see light. We don't see something. Something is a conceptualization. We hear sound. We don't have to conceptualize it. Is that the neighbor's car? Is that a van? I don't need to know. To be seeking after that kind of knowledge, trying to work out what is happening, that's not a bright intelligence. That's a dull anxiety that wants to control what's occurring. So meditation from this point of view is simply being relaxed and open. This openness includes the kind of shimmering edge of what we might call the subject side and the object side. Experiences arising. Some we call object, that, and some we call subject, this. I'm thinking about yesterday. Now, if you can keep these two aspects together, they arise and vanish, both. But if, as it were, the subject side is, I know that that was a dog barking, the identification of that being a dog barking simultaneously operates as a reflexive validation of I am the knower of this. So that's the beginning of an accumulation of artifice, of contrivance. There is the immediacy of a dog barking. I know it is a dog barking is an unnecessary ingredient. So that's what his meaning is, like, don't consolidate your experience. So he says, rest unwaveringly in this state without thoughts of existence or non-existence. We are very, very burdened by our conceptual apparatus. We memorize so many things, like different passwords for different things you have to do with your computer and so on. And if you forget the password, then the computer will lock you out. You are at the mercy of the system. And so there is anxiety. So he's saying, rest unwaveringly in this open state and don't concern yourself with right and wrong, good and bad, and so on. And this is difficult. I think we have to accept that our culture makes us more addicted to abstract thought and so-called factual thought than most cultures have traditionally been. So, again and again, when you find yourself getting involved in a position of agency, I need to do this, just let go. The dreams of mastery, which have been such a force in modernistic culture, is found in its pure form in the city, in rooms with artificial light, with 20, 40 people working away on computers. If everything's all set up properly, people should just do their work. But in England this winter, we had a lot of rain. When you go out in the countryside, you see huge fields covered in water. The farmer can't just say, I'm going to plow the field when it has half a meter of water on top of it. The farmer looks at the field and says, well, we'll see. When the water clears, we can maybe start then. The farmer knows a lot about farming, but he doesn't know when all the water will be absorbed into the earth that allows him to plow. So this is, we need to hold in mind, push through, make it happen. You can be in charge. This kind of message completely disguises for us the fact that let's see is the only truth we know. The will to power is the monologue of the dictator. If we are going to work with circumstances and collaborate, we can't always be on the first foot going forward, ready to act. Remember, Virupa wrote this living in villages in India where he was walking and sometimes going in a little canoe across the river. No mobile phone, no cars, no planes. So we should be kind to ourselves and be careful about the seductions of the world we find ourselves in, the encouragement to do more and to do faster. Then he says, emptiness, unborn, beyond intellect and free of extremes. They all sound quite good. We like them. But he says, with all such mental creations, you will not settle in the truth of how it is, but will be far away. Means do not confuse conceptual knowledge of something with direct clarity. You can read these Buddhist books and they have a lot of technical terms and you can work out what they mean and you can talk in a very lucid way about them. But unless the true meaning is shining through you, you are simply wrapping yourself in a cocoon. And this is not a beautiful cocoon out of which you will come as a butterfly. Rather, it's a kind of self-referential imprisonment. So you have the text. Take a term like emptiness. What does it mean? I don't want to use words I don't really understand. So what is emptiness? My mind is empty. What does that mean? You have a mind. Look at your mind. You see, oh, my mind is full of thoughts and memories and so on. It can't be empty because it's always full of stuff. But the stuff is always vanishing. So much stuff is passing through. My mind doesn't fill up with one particular level of stuff. Always filling, always emptying. Moreover, even as it's filling, it remains empty because it's filling with empty appearances. Thoughts are ungraspable. Memories are ungraspable. If you really investigate and look, you will then know, oh, empty. I am empty. I am unborn. I am beyond intellect. That means everything I say about myself is never quite true. The actual, the immediate, the direct cannot be grasped. And yet we cannot say it's non-existence because, oh, here I am. If you don't look for yourself, you won't get. If you watch me eating, your stomach won't get full. Mouth, chew, swallow. Aha, now I got something. Sometimes when you're chewing on Dharma, you find there are stones inside. Don't break your teeth. Chew carefully, slowly. Break it down, get the real flavor, emptiness, unborn. Okay, so if we have a break for 25 minutes and we're back at 4 o'clock. Lovely. Video. Good, good, good. Okay. So we have to remember that Virupa had been a famous scholar, just like Saraha and Naropa. Some of these early masters were great scholars, and then they left the monastic setting and became wanderers, and others were always wanderers. So when in that last section we looked at, when he's saying emptiness, the unborn, beyond the intellect, and so on, these are mental creations. He's speaking as somebody who has seen many people getting lost in purely intellectual inquiry. Sia Lama often said to me, there is no end to thinking. And he also said, you cannot think your way out of samsara. So thinking can be dangerous or it can be helpful. If you just sit quietly and observe your thoughts, memories, and so on, arising and passing, you might wonder, how could I be caught by something as insubstantial as this? So we have to directly see that it is our own intensely focused attention and belief in what we attend to that generates the delusion that the thought is referring to something real. So then he says, rest in the state of relaxation without estimating whether it is empty or not. If you really investigate, you see everything is empty. So there's no need to work out whether it's more or less empty. In the way he's saying it here is like he says, you will not be able to relax if you are trying to work out how you're doing. It's Saturday afternoon. You could be relaxing on the sofa, watching nonsense on television. That's very tempting. Mindless films help us to be mindless. Oh, but I should be studying Dharma. Dharma is better than Hollywood nonsense. Hollywood nonsense is empty, Dharma is empty. We have a mind which is so addicted to hierarchy, evaluation, attribution of significance, and so on. So he says, just relax. It doesn't matter. Just whatever comes, comes. But am I making progress? Where do you want to get to? I want to get to the here and now. Here and now with capital letters. The big here and now. Not your ordinary here and now, but the big one. It doesn't exist. It's always here and now, however it is. There is no other place where anything is happening. Just relax. You can't progress to the here and now if you're already in the here and now. Oh, but I've read the books and my here and now is not the Buddha's here and now. I want the proper one. Yeah, you can drive yourself crazy. It will never be good enough. How is it? Oh, it keeps changing. So some thought, some sensation, some memory. How could I say how it is? Because it doesn't stay the same. Oh, the how it is ungraspable. You are already in the ungraspable, but you want to grasp as if you would get more. That's your mind. You want something you can't have. There is nothing to get. And you can't get nothing. You are nothing, but not only nothing. When you look for yourself, there is no fixed essence. And yet you live in this illumination, the luminosity of the ceaseless flow of thoughts, memories, feelings, and so on. Don't grasp. We have to relax, release, and trust. Some of you may have done this so-called trust exercises. For example, you have to stand on a chair and close your eyes and then fall backwards onto the group, and you trust that other people will catch you. If you don't trust, you're going to tense up, and then you're going to bang into people. If you trust, you relax, it'll be fine, and then they catch you however they catch you, and your body moves with them. So in the Dzogchen lineage, the founding Buddha is Kuntuzangpo, always good. That is to say, could never be bad. How is it always good? Because it never strays from the non-duality of appearance and emptiness. Whatever appears is the appearance of the luminosity of your own mind. So he says, without resting or not resting, let your mind free without direction. Now, this is tricky. It means, resting here means like not relying on any object, just being completely at one with emptiness. Not resting means that there's some kind of arousal, some kind of involvement in what's going on. He says, don't think about resting or not resting. Let your mind free, set it free without direction. Now you might think, oh, but that's me anyway. That's life in samsara. My mind's here, it's there, all these things are going on. I need direction. I want to make progress. I want my life to be better. I want to be more helpful to other people. So I have these intentions, and they are ethical intentions, and I want to direct my life according to these good intentions. But he is saying, don't do that. We think, no, but if I don't do that, I'll be lost. I need to know what to do. You don't need to do anything. Your mind is open, empty, pure, unstained. However it is, it's okay. The mirror is not diminished if it's showing an ugly or terrifying reflection. But I don't want to have these kind of thoughts. When you have this experience, then you start to see, oh, I am the limiter of myself. I know what I like, and I want to make sure I get what I want. So he says, let your mind free without direction. But what will happen? You'll see. That's not good enough. What's going to happen? I want to know. You can't know. But I want to know. If you want to know, you open the door to samsara. I am a subject making my life go the way I want it to. Let your mind free. What will happen? You can't know. No one knows. It doesn't matter. Oh, yes, it does. Because good things are better than bad things. Maybe. Maybe. This is very difficult because it is contradicting many of the assumptions which keep our lives in place. The texts say, when you're sad, be sad. When you're happy, be happy. But I don't want to be sad. Why should I be sad? I know what sadness is. I don't need any more of it to know what it is. If you've been sad, you didn't die. You're sad for a while, and then something else happens. But that's very aimless. If you go sailing in a little boat, you have the rudder, and you can steer the boat to make it go in different directions. You turn the tiller, the thing at the back, to direct it. You can put up more sail, more sheet, or less. Doing something, that's how we keep our lives going. Yeah, of course, that is true. But we don't have to do that all the time. So when you have some time, you just sit. Not any big intention, you just sit. And all kinds of things arise in the mind. Some seem meaningful, some seem meaningless. I am the stage. I'm not the quality of the show. The people in the audience sometimes clap if they like the show, and sometimes boo if they don't like the show. But they don't clap the stage, and they don't boo the stage. It's not the fault of the stage that the performance is rubbish. I am the stage, not the performance. Just the performance comes and goes, comes and goes. There are many, many symbols and metaphors we can use. Just don't be in charge. It's a great burden to be the boss. So he says, free of the mind that discards, throws away, or holds on, be as mindless as a corpse. You're just sitting. You know, if you're doing the practice in a hot country, while you're sitting, mosquitoes are going to come and try and get some blood. I don't want them to do this. But they come, they take the blood, they go away. That's all. So just as we looked earlier, don't add more onto this identification. The mosquito has put its sharp tube into me and is taking my blood. Maybe I'll get malaria. Maybe dengue fever. Maybe. Let's see. Like the farmer. But if I am in charge of my body and I have to keep it safe, then agitation will be there. So he says, be like a corpse. This is a practice instruction. He's not saying just allow everything in life to happen to you. The reason we do the practice or the meditation is to make the view come alive in us, for us, as us. When you see that whatever arises in your mind has no substance and is intrinsically impermanent, it will not stay, then you don't need to get rid of something which is going. And what's the point of trying to hang on to something which is going? Sit relaxed and allow the movement of the mind to move. Then he says, aware of the thusness of how it is. The thusness simply means the direct immediacy of it. It's just this. It's not a puzzle or a question that you have to think about and work out. Like the texts often say, follow the 4 activities of the yogi: sitting, walking, eating, sleeping. So when you're eating, you're eating. And when you're walking, you're walking. These things are very straightforward. You don't have to know how to do them. You can observe with small children as they come into language. It's just like the unfolding of the petal on a flower. And it's the same, unless you get some injury or paralysis, you don't have to think about walking. these are the unfolding or the flow of the energy of this particular formation we have. So how it is the particular patterning of what is occurring, and the thusness of it is that it's only this, just this, now here, now gone, now here, now gone. Oh, when he says, when you're aware of this, you will dwell in this state. You will be at home in it. You won't leave this state. And the subtle traces of the characteristics of dualistic appearances will quickly vanish. This is simply seeing that actions have consequences. If you have small children and you decide to get a little cat, a little kitten, if the children are used to playing with dolls, then they want to pick the kitten up and put it here and maybe wrap something around it. And the kitten starts to get a little bit annoyed. And it puts out its paw with a little bit of claws coming out. And then the child is, oh, no, it's attacking me. I was playing with it very nicely and it attacked me. Yeah, there we see, we act from the matrix of our own interpretation. The kitten is operating from another system of interpretation. So what he's saying is, if you don't interfere with the world, if you don't bring in your desire to make things happen the way you want them to, then these very subtle traces, which are like little threads tying around you, these threads of dualistic appearance will gradually vanish. He says quickly vanish. I said slowly vanish. But of course, Virupa's doing rather better than me, so I'm going to stick to slowly vanish. It doesn't matter quick or slow, as long as we just stay resting in openness. But then he gives us a little bit of a warning. If you do not abide in the state of awakening and are distracted by concepts, you will not discard the subtle traces of the concepts of dualistic experience. So, before I was saying, with these the three aspects of the Buddha, the dharmakaya, sambhogakaya, and nimanakaya. The dharmakaya is for you. Dharmakaya is just relaxed and open. It's not directly doing anything. It doesn't have to do anything. So if you're sitting in your meditation practice and a concept or an idea arises and you go after it, maybe wanting more of it or wanting less of it, you have abandoned the state of awakening or your dharmakaya for the sake of chasing after a concept which will vanish. And he says, if you do this, these subtle traces, these subtle habits which are difficult to see, they will manifest and wrap you inside them. Then he says, although a person with dim sight may know that they have an eye disease, until this eye disease is cured, dim appearances will continue. So he says, intellectual knowledge is not enough. You have to take the medicine. And this is a strange kind of medicine. This is like old-fashioned medicine when the doctor would say you need 1 month of bed rest. Don't do anything at all. Then the body will cure itself. But if you get up and you get active, you will tire yourself more, and then the natural healing of your body won't be able to function. So this is like how we are. Tired, a bit drained, a bit confused about life, anxious about various things. We need to relax out of these preoccupations. Let them go. It's okay. It's fine. Just as some people will say, listen, I can't relax until I've cleaned all the rooms in the house. Imagine if I was to die and the family were to come and they see that the sheets are all dirty. This is terrible. And there will always be one or two little things to do before you relax. And so you will never relax. So the medicine is let go. Everything in your life that is important because you believe it's important. Everything in samsara arises in dependent origination on the basis of the location of Britain, where I live. I'm not living directly beside an oppressive nation. Some countries are, and they have more anxiety. There will always be things to worry about: health, money, friends, work. So this is a difficult medicine. It's a paradoxical medicine. The medicine is, don't take your problems so seriously. Do you think tomorrow's not going to bring more problems? You clear today's problems, then you get tomorrow's problems and the next day's problems. If you see the emptiness of your problems, you'll be able to manage them much more easily than if you worry about them and make them strongly real. Just be simple. And one of the things which can help with that is to simply think, I don't care. I don't care. I have emails I haven't replied to. I don't care. These people will be upset. I don't care. Does that make me a criminal? I don't care. Maybe it's not so important. If you can't say, I am the agent for the attribution of value, I decide what is important and what is not, then you err by going on to the object side. It is my duty. I have to. I don't have a choice. It's very important. If everybody did their duty, the world would be good. And in that way, the subject is sucked into the object formations of the world. So he tells us about this now. He says to construct an idea about how it is, and to desire meditative experiences, and to meditate having taken the truth of thusness to be an object, these are all mistakes. So in our mind, we say, this is very important. I need my mind to be calm so that I'm not upset by any thought that comes. So I have to control my thoughts. This is not the teaching of Mahamudra. Mahamudra says, don't try to control your thoughts. Thoughts come and go in different forms, in different patterns, with different intensity. And if you desire to get a particular kind of meditative experience, you might hear that someone else often has visions of deities, or they experience warmth spreading through their body or some kind of bliss. And you think, I would like that. This is a mistake. Why? The texts say that these kind of experiences can be signs of progress. But you're not on a path of progress. You're here and now. And what is here and now is your messy mind. And if you sit with your messy mind, not merging into the mess, not trying to push it away, the mess will clear. Because everything which arises is impermanent. And then he says, to meditate having taken the truth of thusness as an object, this is a mistake. So again, he's saying, when you read about thusness or liberation or the clarity of the mind, don't approach it as if it's something you can get. the mind, the potential of the mind is all of what can occur in samsara and nirvana. Whatever occurs is experience. And experiences are there, immediate, but ungraspable, like the reflection in the mirror. So stay with the immediacy of the ungraspable bliss. Because if you turn it into an object, something you can get, something you can develop, then you have misunderstood the teaching. You live in your skin. Nowadays, it's very easy to get Botox. You don't need to go to a doctor. Even the hairdresser can inject you with some of this stuff. Bye-bye wrinkles. This is something artificial. I don't want to be the way I look. I'm going to save my money for plastic surgery. This is such an incredible notion that I am in charge of my appearance, of my thoughts, of my feelings. In life, you get your luck. Puberty is the great casino. Because when puberty starts to operate and the hormones are happening, your body changes. Are you going to get a big, strong body? Or a very spindly, little, shrinky body? Are you going to get amazing breasts or little pimples? This is what teenagers have to face. You get the body you get. You can't go with your mom to the supermarket and get another one. And often this is really shitty for 15 years or so. Maybe by the time you're 30, you think, oh, anyway, this is just me, what to do? This is it. People will like me or they won't like me. What can I do? So that's the kind of mood that we need for the meditation practice. Free of hopes and fears. Accepting and inhabiting, not objectifying, all the eating disorders and so on, which persecute so many teenagers, arise from objectification. I know what I'm like, and I know that no one will like me. These kind of conclusions blind us to the fact that we interact with different people, and some people like us more and some people like us less. So it's the same with the mind. You have the luck of your mind. We could call it karma. Maybe you have a lot of agitation in your mind. Maybe you're frequently anxious, or maybe your mind is often empty. This is your luck. There is no advantage in thinking about what's happening for other people, or that I want to get the same kind of visions as they get. By staying exactly on this present moment, exactly on this point of here and now, here you have the fresh revelation of this moment of patterning of your potential, and you're with it. Nothing is better than this. You are at home with your life, present with your potential. You're not editing it, you are with it. So then he says, the third Pith instruction on the pathway of conduct. And this, excuse me, this has three aspects. And the first is the actual conduct. So conduct means when you get up from meditation and you're in the world, whether you live on your own or with other people, in every situation you're interacting. Once you stand up, you have to do something. You could sit down again, or you could walk, you could go and make a cup of tea. So conduct means being in the world as it is, and maybe in the world with others. And he says, longing and attachment for favorable situation becomes causes of binding. So maybe you know a range of people. Some you find very easy to talk with, and others you don't. The person you are most at ease with gets a new job and they move far away. You miss them. If only they were here, I could be more spontaneous. I felt free to be myself. I'm not so happy talking with these other people. Most of us are familiar with this kind of situation. The fact that something has been somehow very good does, just by being so wonderfully good, somehow diminish the qualities of other things, because you have developed a mental image of what seems really good. And you project it out onto the current situation. But the actual topology of the current situation doesn't fit your ideal map. But you love your map. So obviously, what's happening in my life is shit. It doesn't meet my expectations. I'm glad I have such a good map. A map like this that knows what the best thing is, this is a precious possession. And although I'm lonely and sad and unfulfilled, at least I have my map. So this is madness. We have to be with the potential of our situation. It's all we have. There's no karmic waiter waiting to bring us another kind of soup if we don't like this onion soup. So that's what we live with. So he says, all unpleasant and adverse situations are true attainment. Well, that's quite a strong thing to say. Unpleasant situations, conditions which are seemingly against my wishes, this is true attainment. Well, it's true because these adverse situations clarify a yogi's experience. Like Shantideva says in this Entering the Path of the Bodhisattva, your enemies are your best friends because they show you your anger. If you have friends and they're always nice to you and you're laughing and joking together, you can imagine, oh, I'm quite a nice person too. But when you have somebody who gives you a hard time and you get angry, they haven't made you angry. They have revealed the anger that was within you, but covered over by your easygoing niceness with your good friends. So when bad things happen, for us, we look, who is the experiencer? The experience itself is self-luminous. Once I conceptualize it, that I am the experiencer of my experience, and I don't like this experience, then I situate myself as the individual autonomous ego. But if I stay present with what is occurring without interfering, I am the site of the display of experience. That is to say, I am the space within which the radiance of awareness illuminates the coming and going of different patterns of thought, feeling, and sensation. So, for example, getting sick can be very helpful. You maybe have to give lots of blood samples. And some of the people taking the blood don't seem to be able to find a vein. And so they are pushing and prodding, and the blood is spreading under the skin, and you're getting a lot of bruising. These are very helpful moments. I don't like this. this shouldn't be happening? How come this idiot is working in a hospital? These are ego, self-referential thoughts. Stay with the sensation. Prod, prod, prod. Ow, ow, ow. Coming and going. Don't come to a conclusion. It is as it is. And then something else happens. That's how the yogi uses difficult situations. Don't enter into judgment, because judgment involves objectification. This person is doing something unhelpful to me. And having the other person as an object, as a thing, something that I can evaluate from my template, means that you don't experience the fact that your hand and their needle are working together. It's like dancing with somebody who keeps stepping on your feet. You might think, oh, they can't dance. Or you might think, oh, this is rare and precious. It's not often that people stand on my feet. What interesting experiences. It's always keep to the middle way. If you divide into subject and object, and then you, the powerful subject, say what the object is, then you lose the path of the yogi. So then he says, therefore, do not reject negative experiences, but knowing thusness, protect that within them. Oh, your lover has an affair. You could be angry, you could feel sad, they've cheated you. But he says, knowing thusness means knowing the emptiness of all that occurs, the inseparability of appearance and emptiness, sensation and emptiness, memory and emptiness, everything and emptiness. Keep that openness within, in the heart of the negative experience which is arising. Then what are called the three wheels, the subject, the object, and the relation between them remain in emptiness. So if you say, I hate you, you cheated on me, I'll never forgive you, you are solidifying this other person as a free agent. The issue is not what they did, but what you do. You can leave them or try to develop the relationship, but thinking you're a real bastard, you're horrible. The more thoughts you have like that, the more you construct your own demon. Therefore, maintain the middle way of emptiness with everything, and don't go into the two sides, the two polarities of really existing, strongly real, or nothing at all, I don't care. Well, again, I would suggest, I've made this suggestion several times before, that you get a copy of the Heart Sutra. It's very short. And then you write your own version of it. And you do it with all the people or the factors in the world that might seem to be strongly real for you. My mother is emptiness. Emptiness is not other than my mother. My smelly feet are emptiness. Emptiness is not other than my smelly feet. So if you take this up and you apply it to the various factors in your life that can suddenly grasp you and seem so real and so powerful and so defining, you've already started to loosen it up. And you sit and you think, yeah, I don't like the way I get so sweaty, but okay, sweat and emptiness, emptiness and sweat. Because if you take the Dharma into your life, and visit all these wonderful moments or problematic moments through the lens of the Dharma, then you reduce your desire to have more or have less. He says, cultivating such protection is the conduct that brings complete experience and awakening. Means if you always have the protection of emptiness, bad things will not arise for you and the good things will self-liberate. And he says it's like the whip that urges on a fast horse. Oh, the fast horse is running, it doesn't stop. Somebody says something to you you don't like, and you think, oh, why did they say that? That's not very nice. And instead of running in a straight line, you start running around in a little circle. Life has no circles like that. They are fabricated by your own deluded thinking. Each moment is just this and this and this and this and this, on and on and on and on. It never repeats. It never goes back. But why did it happen? You will never know. But just tell me, why did you do it? I need to know. They will tell you a story. Even if they want to tell you the truth, they can't tell you the truth because they don't know. So running round and round and round is no good. In Poland, you can see on some of the small farms that they put the cow out in the field with a rope round its neck tied to a peg. So all the grass in the circle of the extent of the rope gets well eaten, but not the other grass. So this is a very important example. The more you keep chewing on the same issue, the thinner the grass becomes. You will not get to the essence of grass. Worrying and thinking why and how, bad news. So then he says, if someone with awakening and good experience lacks the friend of conduct, they are like a person with sight who lacks legs. Oh, you can see a lot, you can even know a lot, but to fully manifest your potential of these three kayas or modes of the Buddha, you have to be able to participate in the world. And if you're with other people, they will do things that sometimes make you happy and sometimes make you sad. Don't take it so seriously. That is at the heart of it, because if you take it seriously, if it's good, you will want more. If it's bad, you will want less. Practice the truth of the relaxed ultimate state without attachment. That one sentence would be enough for all our Dharma life. To practice the truth is to align yourself with the truth of the relaxed ultimate state. So you put yourself in the way of that relaxed ultimate state. And you do this without attachment. That is to say, you don't turn it into something that you're getting more of or you're getting better at. You're not trying to hang on to it because it's not something you can get. It's how it is. And here you are in the moment, in the moment, on the moment, and it's open. Without discarding or employing, without attachment, without acting or desisting. This is the supreme conduct of doing whatever pleases you in your own way. By discarding and employing, he's meaning that when you know you don't like something, you become a little bit stupid. You don't investigate it. Like a child saying, I hate broccoli. That's because you never try the broccoli. Try it. Look, we're all eating the broccoli. It's good. I don't like broccoli. I know I don't like broccoli. I'm not going to eat it. So when you discard something, you haven't actually investigated it. You haven't allowed yourself to experience how it is. You come to a premature conclusion. And the same with things that you like. Remember, conduct is about your manifestation, which means being for the other, not for yourself. So if you feel you want to have exercise and you want to have a good walk, don't do it with a 3-year-old, because they won't walk very fast and they won't walk very far. So you're going to take your grandchild or some relative or your own child out for a walk. The walk is co-emergent between you and the child. And if you're relaxed, the child will show you how to see. They will show you how amazing it is to jump into a puddle. And you can do it again and again and again. And each time it's very exciting. Now, you may know this theoretically, but when did you last do this? So this is conduct. You bring your embodiment being into proximity with that of another, and you see how it manifests. You say, don't have a map about what you plan to do. Don't act. Don't rush forward to lead. Don't desist. That means don't hang back and let other people decide and then be really pissed off because now you're having to do something you didn't want to do. So he says, this is the supreme conduct of doing whatever pleases you in your own way. Yeah, but what pleases you? We say, in this and all my future lives, may I act for the benefit of beings. The greatest shoehorn to get you into life is self-forgetfulness. You forget your own agenda. You are for the other. To be for the other is to be free of yourself. So doing whatever pleases you is, I'm part of the gang. We're not lonely heroes. We're not on a great adventure all on our own. Our conduct is about being in the world with others, collaborating, finding ways of enjoying the articulation of our energy with theirs. Now, we can't do this by following a rule. There's no recipe for doing this. Because as he says at the end, in your own way, you have your life history, your energy, whether you're interested in art or in nature or in sleeping a lot, however you are, will be part of your participation. So this is very wonderful. Well, this is our time for today. We've covered quite a lot of ground. As I said at the beginning, if you can read the chapter by Patu Rinpoche, which is chapter 7 in this book, Simply Being, that would be useful, especially for next time. And the fact is, you're actually quite nice. You're quite a nice Buddha. So if you're quite nice, maybe you could hang out with yourself a bit more and enjoy being yourself, so that you feel a bit more relaxed and you can be more authentic in your life, and you get to see how that is, and you find, oh, it's good. So now we come to the end. I'd like to thank Pedro for keeping the whole show on the road, and to our translators, and to all the people who help with our being able to have this kind of event. As always, we don't know how often we will meet again. We hope for the best, but we never really know. So each time we meet, this is precious. We have a chance to examine our mind, to open to our mind. And always we come back to this fact that the practice you don't do today, you won't do tomorrow. Because tomorrow you will have tomorrow's practice to do. And if you're busy and you're troubled and you didn't manage it today, probably you're not going to be feeling too energized tomorrow. And this is why these Mahamudra teachings are so important for us. Because they don't involve doing long, complex sadhanas. We don't have to do anything artificial. We simply have to be present with our life in every situation that arises as our life. And if we do that, we'll always be at home in ourselves. So, dear friends, time to say goodbye. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.
Bye, James.
Thank you.
Bye, all
Thank
together.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you
Bye.
so much. Again,
Organizers and
It's our life.
See you again.
thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
James.
Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.
See you
Bye.
again.
Ciao.
Wonderful.
Bye.